If you've played The Witcher 3, RDR 2 or God of War, you already know games can hit harder than movies. But most story games are padded with fetch quests, fake choices, and endings that don't pay off. This video is the clean list. 10 story-driven games every gamer should play at least once. Why they actually land, what you're doing minute to minute, and exactly how long they take to finish. No spoilers, no lore lectures, just the ones that earn your time. Let's go.
You know, I've never been this close.
Most action games treat story like cutscenes between headshots. The Last of Us, Part 1 makes every single bullet feel like a tax on your survival. You play as a hardened smuggler escorting a teenage girl across a collapsed America where trust is rarer than ammunition. The story hits because it keeps asking one nasty, unavoidable question. How much of your humanity can you trade away before you stop being you? Minute to minute, you scavenge empty drawers, craft shivs, sneak through ruined buildings, and carefully choose when to fight, because playing the loud hero gets you killed instantly. Every encounter feels like a coin toss between spending precious supplies now or taking permanent damage later. Clickers force pure audio panic. One wrong shuffle and the entire room wakes up to rip you apart. The desperate melee finishes look messy and exhausting rather than cinematic, which is exactly why the violence lands so hard. If you want a tight, brutal story that actually ends before it wears out its welcome, stick to the critical path and you can see their journey through in about 15 hours.
Hope you know how to use that thing.
I've had some practice.
You gotta run and don't look back.
Most open worlds beg you to sprint from icon to icon. Red Dead Redemption 2 dares you to slow the hell down and feel the rot. You ride with a desperate outlaw gang as the modernizing world aggressively squeezes them into extinction. The story hits because every mission carries the same crushing pressure, loyalty versus survival, and both options cost you heavily. Minute to minute, you travel massive landscapes, scalp targets, rob, shoot, and constantly improvise escapes when your flawed plans inevitably go wrong. The deliberate downtime makes the spikes of violence hit harder and tiny camp chores evolve into real character moments. The gang's camp shifts in subtle but undeniable ways after big story beats, and the mood change is impossible to miss. Deadeye is not just a cool, slow-mo trick, it turns chaotic gunfights into cold, deliberate executions you chose to line up. If you want an open world that rewards soaking in the atmosphere instead of grinding checklists, ride the main story, and your roll credits in around 50 hours.
We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death.
Most games spoon-feed their deeper meaning. NieR Automata lets you swing the giant sword first, then violently punches you with the philosophical consequences later. You control combat androids fighting an endless proxy war to reclaim a ruined Earth from machines. The story hits because it weaponizes perspective, forcing you to question what actually counts as life, guilt, and purpose when everything is technically artificial. Minute to minute, you shift between slick top-down hacking, fast melee combos, and chaotic bullet hell patterns that keep combat from going numb. The game rewards curiosity but punishes certainty, and that whiplash is exactly the point. The UI is literally made of plug-in chips you can remove, so stacking combat power might mean ripping out your own mini-map or health readout. Certain boss fights suddenly flip genres mid-scene, making it feel like the software is breaking itself just to make a point. If you want a story that actually trusts you to connect the dots instead of explaining everything, run the main routes and you can finish the core narrative in roughly 20 hours.
I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle.
Most roguelikes reset the plot every time you die. Hades turns your death into the plot and makes failure feel like progress. You play as Zagreus, the prince of the underworld, trying to escape while your entire dysfunctional god family comments on it. The story hits because every escape attempt is emotional pressure. Prove yourself, disappoint your father, then come back to new conversations that reframe the run. Minute to minute, you pick a weapon, stack unpredictable god boons, clear combat rooms, and adapt your build on the fly when the RNG hates you. Between runs, you upgrade, decorate, and gossip, so the hub becomes as important to the story as the dungeons. Boons visibly remix your attacks, so your build is loud on screen instead of buried in tooltips. After each death, the house fills with fresh, fully voiced dialogue, turning repetition into story instead of grind. If you want a fast, combat-heavy game where the writing keeps up with your skill, chase the main escapes. and you'll see the key story threads in about 20 to 25 hours.
No place for a boy. You must be a warrior.
Most franchise reboots just upgrade the graphics engine. God of War rebuilds the entire soul of its main character and makes the violence mean something. You play as a hardened, aging god traveling with his young son through hostile Norse realms to honor a final wish. The story hits because it is all about control, wrestling with anger, carrying grief, and fearing you'll become the monster your kid learns from. Minute to minute, you explore dense arenas, solve environmental puzzles, tear through enemies in tight combat spaces, and upgrade gear without drowning in menus. Your armor stats climb, but the real progression is watching Kratos slowly learn to communicate without threats. The Leviathan axe recall is instant and addictive, like yanking raw power back into your hand on command. The one-shot camera never blinks or cuts away, so every win and every screw-up sits uncomfortably close. If you want an action game that actually grows up without losing its edge, focus on the main quest, and you're done in about 20 hours. Most platformers just tell you to get good. Celeste tells you to get honest, then dares you to climb anyway. You play as a young woman trying to scale a deadly mountain while her anxiety shows up as a literal opponent. The story hits because failure isn't treated as shame. It is baked into the rhythm of trying, breaking, and trying again. Minute to minute, you sprint, air dash, waller climb, and chain-tight movements through small, brutal rooms that kill you in a frame and reset instantly. Death counts become a badge of effort, not a punishment. Dash crystals that refill mid-air turn what look like impossible gaps into solvable combo routes if your timing is clean. The assist options are presented without judgment, which lines up perfectly with a story about accepting help instead of pretending you're fine. If you want tight, pure platforming wrapped around a brutally honest story, you can see the main climb through in about 8 hours. Most boss fights are loud, chatty set pieces. Shadow of the Colossus is quiet, gigantic, and unsettling in a way that sticks. You play as a lone rider crossing a forbidden wasteland, hunting colossal beasts to bring someone back from the dead. The story hits because it strips away the usual glory, making every victory feel less like heroism and more like damage you chose to cause. Minute to minute, you track distant silhouettes, figure out how to reach them, then climb living, shaking architecture while the world stays eerily empty around you. The travel time is there to let guilt and doubt grow louder. Hanging onto fur while a panicked Colossus thrashes turns each kill into a desperate wrestling match with gravity, not a clean combo finisher. When a giant finally falls, the heavy silence after the music cuts is the real gut punch. If you want a minimalist story that wrecks you with almost no dialogue, you can clear the full set of Colossi in around 8 hours. Most military shooters are built to make you feel heroic. Spec Ops, the line makes you feel complicit and doesn't let that go. You lead an elite squad into a sand-buried Dubai to look for survivors, and everything unravels from there. The story hits because it attacks the power fantasy directly, forcing you to question why you keep pushing forward when everything feels wrong. Minute to minute, it's familiar third-person cover shooting with simple squad commands, kept intentionally standard so the narrative punches land harder. The deeper you go, the more the dialogue starts to sound like excuses you might make yourself. Even the loading screens eventually start talking back to you, with messages that get more hostile the longer you play. Big set pieces are framed like normal victories, right until the game drags you through the fallout and makes you sit with it. If you want a shooter that leaves a mark instead of just a body count, you can finish the campaign in about 6 hours. Most RPGs brag about choices, then funnel you into the same ending anyway. Baldur's Gate 3 actually commits to letting your bad decisions live. You wake up infected with a mind flayer parasite and fall in with a party of lovable disasters who all have their own baggage. The story hits because every conversation is a negotiation with power, temptation, and consequences that can explode 10 hours after you thought you were safe. Minute to minute, you explore dense maps, loot everything not nailed down, talk your way out of fights, or drop into turn-based combat when diplomacy fails. Companions react, approve, bail, or even turn on you based on what you do, not what you claim to be. Visible dice rolls make tension part of the UI, and failed checks branch into new scenes instead of boring game over screens. The environment itself is a weapon, with shoves, flames, and verticality turning battles into creative chaos. If you want a modern RPG where your choices actually matter, focus on the main story beats and you'll still be busy for around 60 hours.
I saved you. And I'm here to save you again.
Most RPGs quietly reward you for killing everything. Undertale remembers exactly what you did and refuses to let you hide behind pixels. You play as a human kid who falls into an underground world full of monsters just trying to live their lives. The story hits because it turns kindness into tension, then forces you to live with the consequences of every mercy or attack. Minute to minute, you dodge inventive bullet hell patterns, talk to enemies, joke, flirt, threaten, spare, or fight, using simple mechanics designed to spotlight consequence instead of stats. The humor is sharp, but the game can turn on you in seconds if you push the wrong way. The combat screen is basically a personality test, because choosing mercy is an active, risky move, not a passive menu checkbox. Boss themes and animations shift based on what you've done, making sure you notice who remembers your choices. If you want a short, weird story that proves games can judge you back, you can finish a main run in about 6 hours.